Say hello, this is Frank Rodriguez, and this is sort of funny because some of y'all who have maybe saw or saw in my YouTube channel that I have Freddy Ramos 1, because that's how I'm going to actually label this. And this is Freddy Ramos 2. This is the English version. And I think Freddy Ramos 1 is good because one, we spoke Spanish first, right? Right. So it should be one. That's the number one.
Yeah.
And number two, we learned to speak English second, right? So this is how I'm going to introduce it. So this is Freddy Ramos, a great friend of mine.
Hello.
We ended up we've known each other for years. I think we met in the early. The funny thing is, we really didn't meet until later on in life, but we were part of a group of musicians and guitarists, mainly guitarists, that alternated at a club in, was it Silver Lake, California?
Silver Lake.
Yeah, Silver Lake. So it was Silver Lake, and it was a famous Latin club, and there was 4 guitarists. It was Beto Corbello, Ramon Stagnado, Frank Rodriguez, me, and then the incomparable Freddy Ramos. So he was there, and we alternated always doing different gigs, and we're talking about, 1984, right? Something like that. And so it was a long time ago.
Long time.
And so, but it's sort of nice. I have this channel, and I get an opportunity to interview and talk to people that I've known for all my life here in Los Angeles. But the funny thing is, we know each other in the sense of knowing that we're good musicians. We practiced. We did all those good things to become these good guitar players and work where we needed to work. But I didn't really get to know, many of my good player friends. And so right now I wanted to just let Freddy explain, because I'm always curious of how we get involved in music, how we get involved in guitar, and what drives us to sort of become musicians. So now I'm going to let Freddy Ramos tell you, and so it's so good to have you here, man. Thank you so much. Freddy Ramos, part 2.
Part 2. Dos.
So what inspired you to play guitar?
What inspired me was the fact that I early as a child learned, not from the beginning, that music was made by people that played instruments. And these people are called musicians that played in bands and orchestras.
That's right.
Because I grew up in rural Uruguay, South America,
right,
devoid of contact, in the middle of nowhere, away from the city. So my father was a teacher, and he came from work. He would blast the classical station, Hilo Bach and Vivaldi and all those. And during the day, my mother was a homemaker, and she would play tangos on the radio. So I remember being by myself in the field, and in my head, I was imagining music. This tango, all this. I had no idea. I thought that if I imagined, it would be like imagining the rain come down, or the wind, or the sunset, or things.
So you were just listening to the music.
Yeah. Well, later I found out that when I had to move to the city to go to school, primary school, that there were musicians, and then
real people.
Yeah, real people. And then that's what I wanted to do. I wanted to do that. And out of necessity, I became a musician. But not out of, my heart was in the music, not the profession of being a musician per se.
Right. So when you say, so you were like in rural, you mean like in a farm?
In a farm.
Farm area.
Yeah.
Okay.
Away from people.
Right. So there were no teachers there? You had no music teachers there or guitar?
No. Not till we moved to another big city. And then I started to, my dad gave me a guitar because they found out that I had a musical ear. I would be playing pots and pans and whistling. And then I would find my way in a piano. So
wow. Okay.
I started to take classical guitar lessons at age 13 or so.
13, okay. So that was in where? What city?
That was in Maldonado, Uruguay.
Okay, Maldonado. Okay, now I have to ask you that. When was this? Like you? So, what year was this?
That must have been 1961.
61. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. How exciting! So that's where you. So moving to the city is where you started to.
Correct. And then I started to hang out with guys that had guitars
Right.
and electric instruments. So I started playing bands in high school and dances, and so that's
Like, who do you listen? Like, if you like, so was it like a rock band, blues band, country band, or was?
well, we usually would make covers of pop American hits
Right.
of the time, because we had to go and play them for, a ball at the high school or something like that.
Right.
And we were very popular.
So it was all. Did y'all do it in English or Spanish?
Both, because some of the repertoire had to do with Latin America as well.
Right.
Yeah.
What was the primary? Like, was there a band that y'all copied their music?
Okay, of course, the Beatles were the biggest influence, the biggest thing that motivated us to experiment with chords.
Right.
But then, in terms of, the blues is the real passion. So there's two kinds of rock music: one that is sort of bluesy, and one that isn't.
Right.
And I always gravitated toward the blues side, and so all the bands, American bands, and then the Brits. And I didn't make a differentiation between John Mayall and Jimmy Page and Eric Clapton, or B.B. King and Freddie King and Albert, all these guys, which I listened to, and eventually had a power trio.
Oh, wow.
When I was 17, called Dias de Blues, Days of Blues.
Days of Blues.
And that was sort of like a cream version in Spanish of compositions that would come up.
Oh, a trio, power trio. Oh, that's cool. That's good. So but you were doing them maybe in English and Spanish also.
No, this was all in Spanish.
All in Spanish.
By then I had made the switch, because especially bands from Argentina, like Spinetta and Almendra, they cured me out of my bias against music in Espanol. And I started to gain appreciation, and I said, this is what I'm going to be doing. And so
it was a rock. Did you have a teacher that was helping you do that, or were you just figuring things
No,
out?
I would figure everything on my own.
So the classical teacher just helped you with the nylon guitar? And that
Right.
kind of
He would come once a week to do a lesson, and we would read classical pieces, and he would leave, and then I would just, forget about it until next week.
Okay. So that was so it wasn't like a conservatory, it was just like a private lesson?
No, eventually, decades after that, I moved to Spain.
Okay.
And I wanted to study. I wanted to say, okay, if I'm going to be doing this professionally, I want to be focused on being the best professional that I can. So I went to the Real Conservatorio
in Madrid?
In Madrid. But the career was like 12 years, and it was all classical, and I was a rocker that wanted to play bebop, and I couldn't understand how to play through chord changes. And there was nothing that the Conservatorio would offer. So I came to Los Angeles to study at MI, and I did a course of MI. And later I did 4 years, I have a BFA in jazz studies from CalArts.
Oh, wow. So in España, what did you do? Did you learn? So when you couldn't get what you wanted, you go, I gotta go somewhere else.
Yeah.
So in Spain, did you learn anything else? There was stuff that you.
In Spain, I went there with a rock band from Uruguay.
So
the band broke up, and I had to learn to play some flamenco to join a band of a famous flamenco artist called Los Marismeños.
Oh, so you had to sort of reality set in, and you had to.
Yes, I was forced into the flamenco scene, so to speak, which gave me, and back then I didn't have a grasp or understanding of how that would benefit me in the future.
Right.
Because being from South America, all the tangos, all the folklore from Argentina, Venezuela, Brazil, bossa nova, all that is second nature.
Right, right.
Going to Spain, I had to learn flamenco, and then coming to the United States and learning the mentality and how the appreciation of each listener from different continents,
Right.
how it translates to them.
Right, right.
And I have a grasp of what, if I play a lick this way, how a person in Buenos Aires, as opposed to a person in Sevilla, as opposed to somebody in Wisconsin, would interpret.
Yeah, yeah. It's all.
So for a long time, I was not good at anything. Raro is the word in Spanish. Not particularly focused or anything.
Yeah.
So I had to find a way to turn that disability into something that would work for me.
Right.
And that's when I discovered that I had that unique set of skills, so to speak, that would differentiate me from much better, much accomplished players.
Right, right, right. You had something, you gave it a. I mean, and that's true. I mean, we bring in our own thing, you know. It's and so it's interesting because that was, but that forced you to do this other thing. And so blues out of, so listening to music as a young boy and really listening and enjoying it, and then your power rock trio, and then you go to Spain. So that's already pretty rich. That's a rich.
So eventually, I started after college. I was going to go back to finish the master, but I split. I went on tour with Jon Anderson, the lead singer of YES.
Oh yeah, yeah.
And we were playing the progressive rock that I loved so much in the 70s and 80s of the band YES.
Right, right.
So I was loving it. I said, okay, sorry, Collard.
Yeah, that's right. Exactly.
Later.
That's a typical thing that happens to musicians. Once, you go into study and then you figure out that, people like you, people like their sound, people like what you do. You got a job. And then ultimately that's what going to school is about, to get a job, right? So we get jobs.
Yeah.
So had you heard Jon Anderson before? So you knew his music?
Well, I knew YES music. I knew like, the YES album, Close to the Edge, all those records, I devoured them.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. There was a lot of doing this with the needle, with the turntable, and at 33.5 RPM, too fast, you go to half the speed and it half.
All right.
But then you learn the notes.
Right, right.
So
you were always learning. It was by ear, right?
It was always by ear.
Ear training, right?
Yeah. And now I'm a studio musician. And one of the top qualities, you have to be a good sight reader.
Right, right.
Which I'm not.
Yeah.
I have these big antennas.
Yeah.
That I rely on. If there's another guitar player, they'll bail me out.
Well, there's a lot of stories of how certain musicians, I think people like Tommy Tedesco, and especially in the studio world, and I think another guy was Chuck Rainey. When people would come in, they would try to do everything. They realized they couldn't do things, and so those older pros would say, "No, lay out here," because then they would give people tricks so you could listen to what was going on, and then they'll do it again. And if they had to be redone, you would be listening. And lots of times I think we get caught up thinking it should be like this.
Yeah.
And sometimes we depend. So you depend on your ears a lot.
Well, when they put a piece of music, a paper, is an inert thing in front of you with signs, and it's like a doctor brings a defibrillator. I bring my guitar and say clear, which is the equivalent of we're rolling, and you go paf, and you have to bring it to life.
Right.
That is a challenge.
That is. Yeah.
And that is a challenge that you have to have certain balance. You have to bring yourself in, because that's why they call you, but you also are at the service of the music.
Right,
so
right.
Maybe it is about you, maybe it isn't. So it is. You have to have the perspicacy to find out where that fine line lays, and maybe not step over it.
And so you're doing great things because people call you. They call you to do stuff like that. So it's a testament to the stuff you did, at the beginning, listening, and I guess your dad liking the classical music.
Oh yeah.
And then your mom was probably more the popular because you did but tango is Argentina because Argentina's
Yeah.
close, right? So all of that became like the mix of you getting, oh, that's awesome.
And the folkloric music, because there's a lot of very rich folkloric, all the 6/8. And then you learn that, you know, the chacarera from Argentina is related to the huapango of Mexico. And in Venezuela, when you play with the cuatro, you know, the joropos and all that, they are all cousins of each other.
Right, they're related.
But there are subtle differences that, you know, you learn to discern and apply.
So you heard that. I mean, obviously, because you heard it through what your mother listened to, but your dad had the Ural thing. Because if he liked Bach and Debussy and all those people,
Yeah.
that means you. That's where you got probably where to put everything.
He
in line.
especially liked Bach.
Did
As a matter of fact, my first 2 records of my own were Bach Electronico, which was a version of electronic pieces by Bach, which was a novelty at the time,
Right.
and Led Zeppelin 2.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
That's a combination there. Yeah, because I think I remember seeing that. It was like Bach Electric. I think
yes. Wendy Carlos, because he transitioned, and now she's Wendy Carlos.
And so was he doing it on synthesizers?
Overdubbing different synthesizers,
Right.
emulating the orchestra.
So those are your first 2 albums?
My first 2 records that I own, because there was a collection of other music.
Okay. Interesting. So that's pretty. So going to Spain, I mean, that must have you being in Spain from South America. That was probably a treat for Spanish. You know, does that make sense? Like when you come in, you're going, oh, that guy from Uruguay, that guy is here doing stuff, and don't you think it creates a little interest too?
Well, you know, you always have to have some sort of mystique, a shtick, so to speak.
So how old were you? Were you in Spain? How old were you?
Oh, in my early 20s.
Early 20s.
Yeah.
And then when you came to LA, how old were you in Los Angeles?
In my mid-20s.
In your mid 20s.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I spent 5 years in Spain.
Okay. Oh, that's a good time.
Yes.
I always feel if people stay 5 years in any place, you start to get a little bit of the.
And those 5 years feel like 15 years here.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Because you know things are new and you learn so much, and everything makes such an impression on you, and you're absorbing all these things, and so time happens at a different rate.
Okay, but you mentioned so you went to MIT.
MIT. Yeah.
Okay, but what is it? Was it called MIT?
It was called GIT.
It was called GIT.
GIT.
Yeah, because people talk about the GIT schools or the MIT, and I'm going, wasn't that? Does it still exist?
No, well, yeah. Now it's MI. Back then, Chuck Rainey was the lead bassist.
Oh wow.
In the guitar department, it was Howard Roberts, Joe Diorio, then Joe Pass, Pat Martino, Tommy Tedesco, all these guys, and they all inspired me so much. Tommy Tedesco to be a studio musician, all the tricks of the trade,
right.
which I'm not going to reveal.
Yeah, you can't reveal the tricks, and everybody would be working.
Then you won't be a secret anymore, and I will be out of the job.
Yeah, but no, it's I mean, but it's you know, you can learn tricks, but at the end you deliver. Right, you deliver. So we can call them tricks, but still, it's ourselves that we plug into the music. You know.
Well, when you're young, you're overconfident. Your confidence supersedes your true ability. Mm-hmm. So you dare more, and you have this different hunger for things. And then the more you learn, the more you realize there's a lot more that you need to learn. And
we're always learning, right?
Yeah.
We're always learning.
Every moment.
I think so. I mean, lots of times I'll go and think of things that I'm going, oh God, I got to work on that. And of course, our increments are a little bit different because now, you know, I would say, well, like in 3 or 4 years, I really want to get this done. I want to get this going, and then or I say, oh, and this time I want to get this thing. Either I didn't ever tap much but they're just things that we give it a timetable. And now that when you get older, I don't say 3 years, I say like 3 months. In 3 weeks, I would like to get.
Well, they say 10,000 hours.
10,000.
Yeah, it takes to be good at anything.
Right. I think so. I think it's sort of it's all the time we put into it,
But check this out. I mean, I speak with an accent. I have an accent in my hometown of Uruguay. I have an accent in Spain, and I have an accent speaking English. When I play with an accent. So you have to find out that those idiosyncrasies, are they welcome or not? And usually they call you is because you play it in a certain way. I call it an accent, but it's really
an accent.
I don't know what.
It's a personality.
Yeah.
It's it's sort of funny because I grew up in Texas, so I used to work and travel and tour, and I hired a great percussionist, Bob Conti. I don't know if you know him.
Bob, of course, my friend is.
Yeah, so we did a thing. I don't know what we did. I don't know if we did it in New York or in Mexico. We were in Mexico, and then all of a sudden everybody gets to take a little solo, and we're featured, and and I was the musical director at that time, and so he said, anyway, everybody takes a solo, and I take the last solo, and next thing I know, he goes, "Oh, I heard that little Texas thing you did," and I laughed, and I guess we all have a little something, and it could be in the vibrato. Your blues experience came from the trio that you put in Uruguay, right?
It came from my exposure to listening to the music in the first place.
Was there anybody that was there where you were that you said, look at him play? Was there like a person that you looked up to and play?
Yes, of course. With my older players that I would go watch their concerts and be learning visually as well.
So once you saw them, you go, that's the thing. Wow.
Of course.
So I mean, those people, and did they go on to do other things besides?
Well, they all evolved in their own ways. Mm-hmm. They're scattered.
Right. Because sometimes we hear. I mean, I know growing up in Texas. I mean, we had so many. I had Lightning Hopkins lived in. I lived in downtown, and Lightning Hopkins lived in the 5th Ward. So he lived like maybe a mile away from my house. So we all knew we all worked together. I didn't work with him, but I remember listening to him. So he was like a local person that I would. And Lightning was like almost the same time that Robert Johnson. They were both born around the same time.
Is that right?
And then Johnny Winters was he was in Beaumont, so he would play on Main Street. So I would go see him on Main Street.
Oh, nice.
Isn't that crazy? So I just wondered, like in Uruguay, was there people coming in that would tour, like legend? Because I think each place, especially if you're in the blues, there's always these guys that sort of really get it.
Yeah, of course. Yeah. And there was a blues scene across the river in Buenos Aires, across from Montevideo.
Yeah.
And they were really good.
Yeah.
There were a number of them.
Yeah.
And I also would copy their licks.
So you check them out. Yeah, so because I know of them now. I mean, and they got, from South, like the guy from Enanitos Verdes. And I don't know his name, but I know he sounds so great. He's I thought Gustavo Cerati was really good too.
Gustavo Cerati was awesome.
Yeah. So
now Gustavo Cerati, Soda Stereo, they inherited the same thing Tito Páez from Almendra, from Sui Generis, all the early bands in the late 70s.
So when you mentioned that to me, you said Almendra, and Almendra means almond, right?
Almond, yeah. The lead singer was Luis Alberto Spinetta, who went off to do other bands like Pescado Rabioso, other bands, and it was always a trio mostly. So,
See, but that's those. I mean, like of course I'm in, and I joked with Ramon, because Ramon Stagnado, a good friend of ours, he was into Mark Farner, Grand Funk Railroad. So he loved that, and that was a power trio. And when you said power trio,
Yeah.
I said, it's just something that it was the pop, I guess pop music everywhere. You had Cream, right? Cream,
Right.
And so he mentioned he liked Mark Varner. I like Mark Varner, but then I liked my local people. So my local people were always the ones that you go, wow, that is good.
Well,
So you said Almendra was the
Almendra, yes.
And what other? There was one more you said, I think.
Well, then they went off to do Pescado Rabioso, which was the power trio that came out of Almendra. And then a lot of bands started emulating them.
Got it.
In both cities, Montevideo and Buenos Aires.
Oh, wow. There it is. Okay. That's interesting because that's, people that they want to hear, because that's inspiring, but it's unique too, because it's like, it just shows you how, this, that blues thing is such a big deal,
Yes.
I think, and of course other things come from there. I know there's so you came, so there, had their power trio, Spain, then ended up in California, and it was GIT. We got a GIT,
yeah.
And then all these great, teachers were there. So
I also studied with Maestro Moacir Santos, who was a Brazilian composer and orchestrator.
Oh, wow.
And he had a big band. I was part of his big band.
Here in Los Angeles?
Here in Los Angeles.
Okay.
So I took counterpoint, a few lessons with him, and things of that nature.
Oh, cool. So he was, but what was he, a guitarist also? Or
He played everything. But he was mostly a saxophone player. He even played the bass, the baritone.
Oh, wow.
Saxophone and all, and the piano, of course.
Yeah. It's sort of interesting because sometimes, because those people can be, to me, it's a sound. And when you hear a sound that somebody creates great sound, you go, oh, I like that sound.
Yeah.
I don't play that. I play guitar, but I like those sounds because I like trombone. When I was a kid, I liked the way the trombone sounded.
Yeah.
So I like that sort of sound to it. So it's amazing how this stuff.
Well, the way Moacir Santos sounds like, it's like, imagine this word, like paraphrasing. Imagine an onza, which is a leopard, is chasing you in the jungle. If you're running a straight line, he's gonna get you. So you have to dribble and zigzag, and that's how you approach Brazilian music. With movements that are not pre-anticipated.
Right.
So,
but there's a pattern there, I'm sure.
Yeah.
Everybody,
Well, he was so musical that just his presence was. It gave you something.
So that's what you did, like private study.
Private. Yes.
Private. Okay. And that was here. Was that like after GIT or during?
That was after. It was before CalArts.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah.
So California is home too, right? This is.
I've been here in Santa Monica most of my life.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Yeah.
This is home.
Yeah. I always love coming back. I'm so blessed, because I just think, I get an opportunity to come back here. I've been back in Texas since right around 94. I moved back there in 94, but I always come back. And now my life is changing a little bit. So, I get this opportunity to hang out with y'all, and it's so great. I feel, like we should have done this a long time ago.
I know. Tell me about it.
Yeah. But it almost feels like once we see each other, because this is obviously the personal and the way I feel. It's just like we when we can do something, I always hate saying, oh, I wonder what would have happened if I would have, done this. And then I get this opportunity to be here. Oh, I should have talked to so and so. And the funny thing is, it's like we know each other, but then we don't. So now I get to know a lot about, and I want to, Freddie, I want to always, keep in touch. Obviously, this when I post these, there'll be information, and I think we talked. Maybe do you just something about a website? Do you have your website? And
not anymore.
Okay.
Yeah.
But you have stuff on Wikipedia, right? There's stuff on you.
Yes, and there's an Instagram page, Freddy Ramos Music.
Okay.
Where I post some of the things there.
Yeah, and I'll post stuff. There's and I'm sure you do. Allmusic.com, is that what people do?
but I have no control over that. So.
Yeah, but there's people that, I mean, if you look at allmusic.com, you'll see stuff. And
also for film score, IMDb, there's a list of everybody's works there.
So there's a lot of stuff. We just have to, and I'm in the process of organizing my website. So, I'll direct people, and I'm going to figure out also just how to, if anybody is interested in knowing more about Freddy and his discography and all this other stuff that he does, then I'm going to make a point to have sections on my website so you can check it out. And, and there'll be pictures of us, like, with hats and without hats, with boots and without boots. So, but I want to thank you, Freddy, so much. It's always such a great honor to be, back in Santa Monica and be with you. So,
I appreciate the opportunity.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Freddy. Yeah, here we are again.
Ciao, arrivederci.
Thank you. So, all right, buddy.